You're listening to the Home Improvement Report podcast, episode number 48. I'm your host, Gary Neidert. Welcome to today's episode where I'm talking about lights, camera, podcast. Wait, I thought we were going to talk about podcasting. How's that going to work with the lights and the camera? Oh, we can do video and pull the audio off of that. Okay, so we're going to talk about podcasting today. Episode 47, I talked about using a video in your business to help get more leads, communicate with your prospects, and develop trust with your viewers. Here's a brief recap. The problem you're facing, and you already know this, but it's getting more difficult to capture your prospects' attention, as well as your clients' attention. And it's going to get worse as time goes on. I mean, it's a fact that your prospects and your clients are bombarded with information from advertising messages, social media, family activities. The bottom line, business, life, is becoming more complicated with every passing day. And on top of that, we're still dealing with a COVID thing. You need something that will help you cut through the clutter of information, help you build trust with your prospects and clients, and that has the potential to elevate your company as the guide to help your clients become the hero to their clients and their prospects. The next solution I want to suggest for you is not only recording and posting videos, but recording an audio podcast. Why a podcast? Well, for now, it's not saturated with competition. However, its popularity is growing quickly. There's about 900,000 active podcasts that have been posted. Now, if you want to compare that to a blog post, oh my gosh, there is millions of blog posts monthly, but they don't get the traction like they used to. People are going more to the video, to the podcast. And here's a good tell of podcasting is it's time to start doing it. You know, when Amazon starts playing in the sandbox, it's worth looking into. And they will only be a source to play a podcast, at least for now. Example, I can sign up with Amazon for them to play my podcast. They pick that up through my Libsyn account. The Libsyn account would push the latest episode out to Amazon, and it would be available for anyone connected to Amazon to play that podcast. And the great thing about it is, think of the huge reach that they have with their customer list. So here's where we use a podcast. Use it on social media. When you release an episode, have it posted to all your social media sites. And if you want, pay to have the post on social media boosted so your ideal clients can hear it. A podcast builds a connection with your audience because your prospect can listen to it on the go with their smartphone, in their car, working, walking around, and a whole lot more. One of the things about it, they listen to it on their earbuds, or they might have headsets that they listen to, earphones, and it goes into their head. You really get inside their head with your voice. Now, I want to talk about some statistics that you really need to pay attention to. The last two or three are the ones that's really important. But we'll start off. 75% of the U.S. population are familiar with the term podcasting. 55%, or a little over half of the U.S. population, have listened to a podcast. 37% of the population, more than a third, listen to podcasts at least every month. Now, here we go. The weekly guys. 24% or a quarter of the U.S. population listen to podcasts weekly. 46% of 35 to 64-year-olds listen to podcasts. Almost half of that age group. Let's break it down a little bit here. 27% of 45 to 64-year-olds listen to podcasts. Now, when I was doing the home and garden shows, to me, the sweet spot for the age group that were most likely to spend money with the exhibitors was 45 to 65 years old. That was the ones that most of the clients that I had, that's the ones they were going for. So almost 30% of listeners, 45 to 64-year-old. There we go. That's a pretty good group. 45% of podcast listeners are more likely to have, get this, you'll like this one, $250,000 plus annual income. $250,000 annual income. So if you can get a podcast together and you can get it going and tap into these guys where they listen to it, you're tapping into some good money. It's pretty well even split between male, female listeners, 51% male, 49% female. Here we go. Here's one I want you to really pay close attention to. Podcast listeners are much more active on every social media channel. In other words, you do a podcast, you upload the link to your social media channel, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is, your listeners, your ideal audience is more likely to be listening and paying attention to that social media place, Facebook, and gives you more opportunity for them to hear your message. Now, here's the last two that stuck out to me, and especially this next one. Podcast listeners are more likely to subscribe to Netflix or Amazon Prime. So what does this have to do with podcasting? I mean, that's video, okay? Well, it's the consumers of that content is they are less likely to be exposed to TV advertising. Have you been advertising on TV? Have you thought about advertising on TV? If you do, your viewership has shrunk over the years. It's harder to get through. It's hard to get through the clutter on TV advertising because people are now, they've cut the cord on the cable and they're going to the internet. They're watching Netflix. They're watching Amazon Prime. They're watching YouTube. So that is a good place to be on advertising. So the idea is if they're willing to watch those channels, they're likely to listen to your podcast. The last statistic, say that 3 times real fast. Over half, 52% of U.S. consumers who listen to the online monthly podcast listen to the entire episode. So here you go. You put up a podcast and you say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and hi, my name's Gary Noddard. I'm with the you're at the Home Improvement Report podcast. My sponsor today is Masterwork Marketing, and they do all kinds of promotional products and services with imprinted items. So if I was Masterwork Marketing, which I am, we do have a promotional products company, that would be an opportunity to talk about that. Let's say the remodeler. Hi, I am Jack Black with ABC Contracting, and today we're talking about this and that and the other, and the sponsor for today's program is ABC Contracting, where we do all kinds of remodeling. We do kitchens, baths, we do add-ons, we do everything you can think of. We do outdoor kitchens, and on and on and on and on and on. So throughout the podcast, you're talking about some of the things that you do. You don't turn it into an infomercial, but you talk about what you do. Or if you're doing an interview with someone, you're able to add a little bit of information there about your company. So you do that all the way through the video, and at the end of the video, go for a full-blown commercial. Just full-blown commercial. Because the chances, so 48% of the people that listen to your podcast would most likely listen all the way to the end of your podcast and hear your message. And you're bypassing a whole lot of clutter with your podcast. So, first thing first, what do you want to say? Well, I kind of touched on this, but if you're thinking of making a podcast into an infomercial, don't do it. Don't. This is a relationship building deal. And that takes some time to develop it. It won't happen overnight. But if you stay consistent, you will gain traction and develop trust with your prospects. Instead of making it an infomercial, ask yourself, what information would your prospects want to hear from you? Like how to do simple home repairs, how to buy a house, how to sell a house, or how to get one ready to sell. And here's some examples of people who've done it in the past or are doing it now. Ron Hazelton, he's been around on TV for a long time. At one time, he was sponsored by Lowe's. Maybe he still is. I don't know. Or for those who live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and who remember Al Carroll, the super handyman. Al Carroll had a TV show, as handyman, what to do with home projects and whatever. Then he had the radio show for the very, very longest time. Great guy. It's fun to listen to. And then currently, This Old House TV is on PBS, and they talk about different projects they're working on. They'll have a viewer that writes into them, I'm having trouble with this. This Old House will come in, help them with their project, and move on out. And so they give some tips and tricks on what to do fixing up your home. Or there's Jim Dutton of Texas Home Improvement Radio Show. He does the same thing. He talks about, what to do. Somebody has either calls in or sends in a question by email. They'll ask, I have this situation going on. What can I do about it? And he offers content for them. That's what his show's about. It's content. So here's some more. How to choose a remodeling contractor, a window replacement company, a deck builder, how to choose an HVAC company, a roofing contractor, a painting contractor, a kitchen remodeler, a bathroom remodeler, a landscaper, and on and on and on. There's a whole lot that could be done with that. Interview past clients and have them talk about how they found your company, how they found out about your company, or what they would have done differently during the process. Don't be afraid of asking them. That could provide you some fantastic information that you could use on the next jobs that you do. And it would be some good information for people to hear of maybe the homeowner's fear of what might happen or what might not happen. And you were the guy that you solved all their problems. You made it work great for them. And what about this? What was their overall experience during and after the project. You know, that in itself can help eliminate people's fear about getting into a home remodeling project. What about this one? A message from you, an update about what's going on in the business, what you can do, what's going on in the business, some of the new things that are coming up, some of the additions you're doing, some of the new services or products you might be offering. So there's a whole lot that can be done with all that. Now, here's the mechanics of it. Some of the equipment you'll need. If you want to just start off real simple, here you go, right there. You can do it with your smartphone. You probably want to invest in a microphone, a small microphone that plugs in right there. But you could do that. That's best mostly for a solo operation. As you grow and get more familiar with it, get yourself a digital recorder. This is a Zoom H1, and it will record stereo. It uses the little small jack, the 3.5 millimeter jack. That's a great way to record your interviews. The next step would probably be a USB microphone. See, there we go. Where can I get it where you can see it? USB microphone. I use that for a lot of years. That microphone's probably 10 years old or more. That's what I started off with. And I eventually moved up to an audio mixer, and then this microphone here with audio mixer. And this allows you to do a whole lot more refined tweaks to it. So, but you know, the USB microphone, there's one out now that plugs in USB and allows you to plug in your headphones so that you can monitor what you're talking about. You can monitor the audio to make sure that it's doing fine. So then, you know, if you could step on up to the small audio mixer in your office, you can record yourself like what I'm doing right now, or you can do remote interviews using Zoom.us, in which I do that. Now, here's some services you'll need. A podcast hosting company. This is where once you've completed and you've got your the audio file all done, it's edited, it's how you want it to go out, then you have to have a service to upload that file to, and that service will distribute to the different places such as Apple iTunes or whatever it's called now, to iHeartRadio, to Stitcher, to whatever, all the different ones you want to talk about. So here's some of the podcast hosting companies. Now, Libsyn, this is the one that I use. I heard about it from another podcaster, a longtime podcaster. And a matter of fact, it works for him, and I'm glad I went with Libsyn. But there's Blueberry, there's Podbean, Buzzsprout, SoundCloud. Now, just don't use a free service. Why? Do you remember that old saying, you get what you pay for? Just because it's free doesn't mean it's the best way to go. Sometimes you might have to. But it's more difficult to, as time goes on, to get the most out of it. If you really get into podcasting deep, you get into it in a big way, you'll not be able to get the statistics that you need from a free service. And it's best just to go ahead and start off with a paid service. Libsyn, I pay $15 a month. And it suits my needs perfectly. And so, what about a website? Now, you can add this to your current website. You'll just need to create a tab or a section where it's podcast or start a new website where it's just the podcast episodes uploaded to your website. Now, some more ideas of what to record. Interviews with clients. We talked about that. Interview your subs and explain why you use them. Your subs are what makes your business makes your business grow. If you have a great sub, man, you want to keep him. If you have a bad one, you get rid of him to find that good one. I know a business or two who've had the same subs for years. We're talking 20 plus years. And so that, interview your subs. Let them tell why they like doing work for you. We've already touched on this. Do a solo podcast where you record what's going on this week. Keep prospects updated on what you're doing. The next thing you need to do, once your file is finished, once your recording's done, you've got it edited, upload the file to the podcast hosting service and make sure that message goes on all your social media stuff. Now, how do you get people to listen? How do you get your podcast in front of people? Well, social media. Find out what your ideal prospect likes to hang out on, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. Find out where they like to hang out. And once you have a good idea of where your ideal prospect goes for information, focus on that one until you get a good response, a consistent response. And if you don't want to do all that and you want to have someone produce the program for you, some people would rather do that. They just want to record. They just want to record their voice and be done with it, not have to deal with all the other stuff. Now, here's something I touched on in episode 47. Just like with videos, don't stop after 2 to 3 recordings because you don't like the way it sounds. Keep recording and posting. Do you remember the secret I let you in on? It doesn't matter if you're doing video or an audio podcast. You're not going to be good when you start out. Keep recording and posting anyway. Why? The more we do something new, the better we get at whatever that might be. I went back and I was digging around in some of my old files of videos that I had created. Oh man. I don't want to delete them, but yet I do. They are really bad. The video quality is horrible. And they're just not good. Hopefully I've gotten a little better in my presentation, but I know this. I'll be better tomorrow than I am today, and I'm better today than I was tomorrow. So start letting people hear from you today by podcasting your unique message. You need to let people know what you do and what's going on with your business. Just start, just do it. And as you continue, you'll get better and better and better and better and better. And so if you need any help with creating an audio podcast, let me know. I can help and get you started in the right direction. So there we go. Podcast. Either start doing video or start doing a podcast, or better do both. Do both. Communicate to those prospects and to those clients what you're doing today, what you're doing at the moment, and what's coming up in the future that would pertain to them. Start your podcast today. Now, I'm constantly searching for new information in the home improvement industry that consumers and contractors alike will enjoy. Also, I bet you probably know someone that would be a great guest for the Home Improvement Report, right? Let me know their story and a little bit of the backstory on what they're doing, who they are, because I'm always looking for great stories of business successes. You know, the story behind the story. Or better yet, what about you becoming a guest on the Home Improvement Report podcast? I'd love to hear and record the story of your success. Check us out on our website, thehomeimprovementreport.com. And of course, you can also go to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Subscribe to the podcast and listen to the previous episodes of the Home Improvement Report. Contact me if you have any questions regarding today's podcast. I'm Gary Neidert, and you just experienced the Home Improvement Report podcast. Call me 972-771-7899. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.